First time, good morning, sports fans. You're listening to Any Given Sunday with Rob Liano on Camp Student Radio. Today we got a really great lineup to you today. We had a really good week here in sports. We had the MLB playoffs starting. We had the National League Divisional Series, the American League Divisional Series. The Championship Series is starting this week, and we got the NFL, we got the NHL, we got NCAA football. Anyways, we might cut a little short today. I got a little event to go to right after. But with that being said, let's just take a starting look. So the the uh, the NFL right now. Last week, we had the news break out that Jamal Charles is out on a season-ending ACL injury, and man, oh man, does that really hurt for Kansas City? And we saw that a little bit in the game against Chicago. We had they didn't really like they weren't the Kansas City team that they were. When they had him in, they would be playing really well and they would win. But against the Chicago team, they ended up excuse me, they ended up losing that game. That's that's quite a surprising one, really. But yeah, but so Jamal Charles out for the rest of the season. How does this affect Kansas City? Well, Kansas City itself, they're still a pretty solid team without Jamal Charles, and we're gonna. So they're playing the Vikings today, and of course the game is actually starting right now. So I'll give you score updates if if there is any, and right. So Alex Smith, you know, not the best quarterback in the league, definitely not the most athletic quarterback, but he gets the job done. He can still play. That's what we've been seeing. So Jamal Charles out shouldn't be a it shouldn't be like saying that their season's over. I think it's not. I believe they can probably pull out a win today against the Vikings, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, just so the games are just starting right now. So when there's any score updates, I will provide those for you. But let me let's maybe do some of the predictions for the late afternoon games, the ones starting at around 1 o'clock today. So we have the Panthers and the Seahawks. The Panthers are undefeated right now, and they're going against the Seahawks, who are 2-3. Now the Seahawks just lost last week against Cincinnati, who is also undefeated. So what I'm wondering is, are the Seahawks going to change anything when they go against the Panthers? They know they're undefeated. Are they going to play any differently? Are they gonna step up their own game? That's the question really that we have to ask. That Seattle has to ask for themselves. Really, is really how are they going to adjust their play? They only have 2 wins, 3 losses, and they're going to figure out what they're going to do. Now the Panthers, they've been doing pretty darn well. If we could take a look here, we had. Let's take a look at it. All right. So Cam Newton, I mean, he's got not the best numbers, but look, he's got 67 completed for over 221 passes and 809 yards, 7 touchdowns. Okay, but we also got to look at that. Yeah, we also got to look at the rest of their schedule though. I mean, let's take a look at this. Let's open this up actually, and I'm gonna take a look at it. So they started the week against Jacksonville. We all know, like, Jacksonville. I mean, they they can make plays, they can play, but they're never going to be that great of a team. And we saw that. So week 1, Carolina took Jacksonville 20-9. They beat Houston. I mean, that's Houston like itself. They've been falling apart. I mean, nothing against J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt is a fantastic defenseman. But Carolina won that game because Houston's team honestly isn't that great at all. They beat New Orleans. New Orleans itself, they couldn't go out with a win even with Drew Brees, and so that's another thing to really look at there too. And Tampa Bay, in week 4, and then went on a bye in week 5, and now they're back. They're going against Seattle. So they got the rest, but does that rest hurt them or not? Because they weren't out playing like Seattle was last week. So really, there's 2 different ways to look at it. Yes, Carolina got rest. They could be a really well-rested team, so they could go out and play as hard as they can against Seattle, and they could pull out the win. But on the other hand, Seattle's got the last week experience. They played against Cincinnati. They went through practice to adjust their plays of how they're going to play against Carolina, learning from the week before. So really, there's different ways we got to look at this, but I think in the end, it's gonna be a really tough one. I'm gonna say it's a really close game, but I say Carolina will go 4-1. Seattle's gonna win this game in a 24-21. It's gonna be that close. All right, let's move on to the next games. So we got Packers and Chargers. I don't really think that should be much of a question. I mean, the Chargers do have, at least 2 wins, like Seattle does. But the Packers, we have seen the Packers play. Aaron Rodgers making plays, like with James Jones, with his other receiver, like other Rodgers, Richard Rodgers, and Clay Matthews on the defensive side. He's fast, he's athletic. So we're going to see a lot of plays from the Packers. That should be an easy win for the Packers. I'm going to say that's going to be a 28-14 win for the Packers. Yes, I'm being generous there, giving the Chargers 14 points. All right. And the one that hurts me very much to talk about, the 49ers versus the Ravens later today. Alright, so Colin Kaepernick last week. He had a great game. Let's start out with that. Colin Kaepernick had a great game. So there's really no it's really hard to tell right now. We've had, and then there's the injuries. Unsure whether or not Carlos Hyde was going to play today, and seeing how everyone else is going to play, if they're going to be mentally ready for this game. Yes, they got the same record as their opponent, the Baltimore Ravens, but who is going to step up to this game? Who's going to be the one to say, hey, let's organize ourselves. Let's take a look at ourselves right now. See what can we improve on, right? Because the Niners, they had a good game in week 1 against Minnesota, but then they just absolutely got killed the next several games. They played Pittsburgh, and then that game, Kaepernick eventually picked himself up and got some points, but that game still turned out to be, totally one-sided in Pittsburgh's favor. Then they went to Phoenix to go against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Kaepernick, the first 2 plays that he threw were interceptions for a touchdown. And then he would just go on to throw a few more picks that day, and he just was not having it. And, we saw how bad he played that game, and they lost that game too. And they went against the Packers. Same thing. He couldn't play. He couldn't make any plays. He looked very not unconfident as he went in. So, what are we gonna see? Are we gonna see the Kaepernick from week 1? Or are we gonna see the Kaepernick from weeks 2 through 4? Or are we gonna see the Kaepernick from last week? Now, if we see the Kaepernick from last week, and if we see the plays from last week, if we see Jared Hayne make plays in the punt return game like he did against Arizona, then I say the Niners should be able to win this game. But it's really hard to tell, because the Niners have been so inconsistent in these last few weeks. It really hurts me. I'm a Niners fan myself. But, it must be really mentally stressful for the Niners that we have not just the offense, but even the defense, both sides of the ball is so out of sync that they just don't look like a team anymore. We have Anquan Boldin and Torrey Smith. We've seen things break out, saying that how frustrated they are with the team not making plays. And we have the offensive line. They did well in that first game to allow Carlos Hyde for a few touchdowns and stellar breakout runs. But then the next few weeks, the defense stopped him. Almost on all occasions, Carlos Hyde could not find a single gap. So that's what we're gonna see. But I'm gonna go out on an IQ saying the Niners are gonna pick themselves up. We are gonna see the Kaepernick from last week. He's picking up that confidence, hopefully, and the Niners are gonna win this game 17-10. It's gonna be a little more low scoring, but that's where it's gonna be. It's gonna be 17-10. Then we're gonna go out to Indianapolis, the Indianapolis New England game. All right, so we got Tom Brady, and we got the Colts. So the Colts got Hasselbeck. Luck is gone. Tom Brady has been doing so well in his 4 weeks of play that it seems like that whole Deflategate scandal thing, like the whole going to court, the whole appeal thing, that has not fazed him one bit. He went back out and he played like he usually does, and he does it well. That's what we're seeing from a Tom Brady offense in the New England Patriots. They are playing well. And that's the thing, and that's where we got to look at for the Colts. Now, in the first few weeks, we've seen the Colts play. And really, it has been nothing but subpar play for the Indianapolis Colts. Andrew Luck, when he was in, one of the worst passer ratings in the of the entire season. It was sad to see that happen. Last week, Andrew Luck was one of the highest, and it's really interesting turn of events to see what happened. Andrew Luck just became one of the worst, and then now he's out. We're not gonna. Who knows when we're gonna see him again? Maybe the next few weeks. I don't know. Matt Hasselbeck has been making plays for Indianapolis. The Colts are 3-2. A couple of those wins did come from Andrew Luck, but those wins really, it's Andrew Luck still never really played that well this season. Matt Hasselbeck could be taking that starter position based on the last couple weeks of play. We've seen several good, like we've seen pretty decent offense behind Matt Hasselbeck. Andre Johnson that last couple weeks finally got, or even last week I believe, yeah, Andre Johnson last week finally got to break out. He finally got to make some plays, and under Andrew Luck, he got nothing. He got like only like a couple targets, barely make any receptions at all, and that's for a very low amount of yards. So really, I don't know what to say about the Colts offense right now. But Matt Hasselbeck is making some plays. He's doing well. But there's the thing, is he was doing well against Houston. Now, what are we going to see against a Matt Hasselbeck offense against New England? Now, I'm not saying New England's defense is all that great, but are they going to feel the pressure of New England on them? Now, this is the night game. This is Sunday Night Football, prime time. What we're going to see is Andrew Luck. And also remember, I forgot to mention this, but this is the whole Deflategate game, really. We go back to the conference finals. It was New England against Indianapolis, wasn't it? And we had them complain about, we had Indianapolis complain about weird balls. Like, why does it feel lighter? There's less air in it? Oh, let's go blame the Patriots for deflating the balls. So what I'm going to say is, because this is in prime time and it's the same teams of the whole Deflategate scandal, New England is going to go out to try to prove their dominance against the Indianapolis, regardless of who's starting at quarterback, regardless of how the team is doing. They're going to go out and say, we are the better team, no matter what the Deflategate scandal says, no matter if there's any deflated balls at all on the field. We are going to play in a regular game, and we are going to beat you. That is what the Patriots are going to do. The Patriots are going to win, and it's probably not even going to be a contest, really. The Patriots are going to win 35-14. It's going to be the spread is going to be pretty huge in this game. I say Tom Brady is going to make so many plays. It's going to be a good game there. In that way, that Tom Brady just does so well. But one thing to look at, another thing, is Thursday's game. Go back a couple days. The Saints beat the Falcons 31-21. Alright, let's take a look at that. So, before, we saw some very subpar play by Drew Brees. Drew Brees wouldn't do well. He would eventually get injured. Then we would see Luke McCown come in. Same thing. He couldn't play well. The Saints were doing pretty poorly. They only got 2 wins. They started out 0-2, and they just looked sloppy. And then they went to go against a 5-0 Falcons. Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman, Julio Jones, Roddy White. I mean, before going into this game, I thought Atlanta was going to have it easy. Atlanta would not have a problem. Atlanta. But the Saints came in, and they ushered their dominance early in the game. In the first quarter, they scored 14 points. and they held in the first half. Just in the first half, they held Atlanta to only 7. Devontae Freeman only got 13 carries for 100 yards. Yeah, that's still good, 100 yards, but that's
Take me from right before the snap and all the way through. I mean, it's in that situation, we don't know who's going to block it. We know.
Atlanta offense that we saw the last couple weeks. Matt Ryan, less than 300 yards. So he went 30 for 44 for 295, and 2 touchdowns, as the whole. So really, what it came down to was it was Drew. Like we saw good plays by Drew Brees actually. Finally, he went 30 for 39, 312 yards. He passed 1 touchdown. But that's also not. Just remember, we also got Mark Ingram. He did not. He didn't. I mean, like remember Mark Ingram. He's no Devontae Freeman, so he wouldn't play. He wouldn't get that many yards, whatever. And under the New Orleans offense, they wouldn't really need to give him the ball that much because Drew Brees would be, he'd be using the air a lot more. But so Ingram took 20 carries for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns. One more to Devontae Freeman. So we look at that. That is really where we're gonna see New Orleans finally get something going for them, and they actually beat the 5-0 Atlanta Falcons to put them to 5-1. And New Orleans finally got they got another win. So that's definitely good to see. But but that game though, I mean, I wouldn't really expect to see that. I mean, I said that earlier because the Atlanta Falcons, they were just playing so well. But let's move on again. Let's take another look at. So we got the Monday night game. So it'll be tomorrow night. That will be the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Philadelphia Eagles are now left with Sam Bradford. Alright, I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. He can make plays. But before the season, when they got Sam, like when that trade happened, there's there's that trade between the Rams and the Eagles. Now the Rams got Nick Foles, and the Eagles got Sam Bradford. So what I'm trying to find out is who got the better end of that deal. And in my opinion, the Rams got the better end of that deal. Nick Foles is I still see him as a pretty good quarterback. And I mean, I'm not saying Sam Bradford's not, but remember, like, Sam Bradford would easily get injury prone. Like, he would always get injured. So it worries me a little bit for Philadelphia to see that. So what are we gonna see now? between the Eagles and the Giants. The Eagles right now are 2-3. And the Giants are 3-2. So, what are we gonna see from this game? This is gonna be a difficult one. It's a rivalry game. Monday night. Sam Bradford versus Eli Manning. What are we gonna see? So, let's take a look at some of these stats right now. Just a rough look at it. Eli Manning in this season, 131 for 197, 1,417 yards, 10 touchdowns. Sam Bradford, 190 attempts, 120 completions, 1,281 yards, 8 touchdowns. And then there's the look at for passing, but we know both these teams don't rely on passing the entire time. I mean, well, the New York Giants actually, most likely they do. They've got, of course, the 10 touchdowns for Eli Manning. That's spread across the board too. We got Odell Beckham Jr. with 3, Ruben Randall with 2, Shane Vereen with 1, Larry Donnell with another 2. So we gotta look at that. But who's also there? They're rushing too. We got they're rushing, and what we're seeing is really it's a lot. We see a lot more rushing on the Philadelphia side. We got Ryan Matthews, who's on 41 carries, 205 yards for 2 touchdowns. And you got DeMarco Murray, 49 carries, 130 yards for 2 touchdowns. So the thing is, both these offenses are pretty decent offenses. Don't get me wrong. But who's gonna be the one to be able to pull out this win? Which defense is gonna be able to read the plays, be able to stop the other team's offense, and be able to get where they need to get in order to win the game for their team. That's what I'm gonna say. It's based off whose defense is better, because right now it's hard. Right now the offense really, it can go either way. New York Giants passing game, Philadelphia Eagles running game. I'm gonna say this is gonna be a difficult one. But I'm gonna say it's in Philadelphia. Philadelphia has that prime time on their stadium. Their offense is gonna play well, and their defense is gonna play well, and the Philadelphia Eagles are gonna push the New York Giants to 3-3, and the Philadelphia themselves are gonna become 3-3. Philadelphia is gonna get that win barely, and that one's gonna be 32-28. That's my prediction for that game. All right. Let's move on from football for a little bit, and let's talk baseball. The MLB playoffs are going on right now, and man, am I excited. And no, I am not excited because it's my team in the playoffs. Nick, my team is not in the playoffs. My team didn't even make it. But I love baseball playoffs. It excites me in every way because the way the teams play have so much fire in them, more than I've seen, and you see some upsets happen across the board anywhere, which I think is amazing. For example, we saw the Chicago Cubs upset the St. Louis Cardinals in the National League Divisional Series. Now, the Chicago Cubs, I even said before the Chicago Cubs are going to win the World Series, but they still come as underdogs in every series. And that's why I think they're going to win, because that underdog status, in a sense, elevates them. They want to play stronger. They want to go in and say, we're going to come in and we want to take this win. And the thing is, Chicago in no way. Although they are an underdog, they play really well. They finished third in the MLB. Only third to the Pittsburgh Pirates and to the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, they took out both of them, but they're still considered underdogs, which I don't quite understand. They're a fantastic team. Under the management of Joe Madden, I don't even see how it's like Joe Madden is a fantastic manager, and he did some amazing things to Tampa Bay when he was with Tampa Bay, and has done some amazing things to Chicago this season right after he signed with them. So that's one of the that's just an exciting thing for Chicago to see how well they are doing right now. But let's take a look at this though. So we got right now Chicago in the National League Championship Series against the New York Mets. And in game 1, the Mets won 4-2. So, my prediction was before the series started that Chicago will win this series in 5 games and move on to the World Series for the first time since 1945 and try to hope for their first win since 1908. Now, that's a really long time to not have a title under the belt. So I say, really, they're going to have that fire. But going back to what I said that they're going to win in 5 games. Now, in order for that to happen, they have to win the next 4 games in a row. So they have to go against... They have to win this game in New York today. Go back to Chicago, win both those games, and win in New York again. That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be a really tough thing. And I say, really, can they pull it off? I'm gonna say not in 5 games anymore, because really, my prediction was that they would win the first game, and that would give them the momentum. In fact, they would win the first 2 games because of Arrieta and Lester, those 2 great pitchers. But I say they could still win tonight. But they're not going to win Game 5. They're going to win tonight. They're going to win both games in Chicago. So they're going to go up 3-1 going into Game 5. Yeah, they're going into Game 5. Going into Game 5, New York Mets are going to take that win because it's back in New York, and the atmosphere in New York is going to, it's going to help elevate them. Going back to Chicago in Game 6, that is where Chicago gets their win. They're at home. They want to win for for their fans. They want to say, we are going to take this win, and we're going to finally do it, because we know we are going to. Because that's the Chicago Cubs that are playing this year. That's the Chicago Cubs that I saw play this year against Pittsburgh and against St. Louis. They've got that fire in them, and they'll win it in 6 games now. But now let's move on to the other side of the league, the American League. Now this is gonna be my last thing of the. This is gonna be my last talk, my last point of the day before I have to sign off. So let's talk. Let's just talk to that. So we got the Blue Jays and the Royals. Now the Royals are favorites to win or by experts saying, I'm looking around, they're the favorites to win the series. My prediction was the Blue Jays would upset in 6 games before. Now the Royals are now up in the series 2-0. Now granted, they were the top seed, so they got the first 2 home games and they won those first 2. Fantastic on both sides. But I say, one thing I'm going to say is we're going back to Toronto. And we're going to see some plays by Jose Bautista. He's going to make those plays. And we're going to see plays across the entire Toronto team. They're back at home, so they want to get at least that one win. And they're going to get that one win. And they're going to get another one. They're going to get both wins in Toronto. So that's going to even the series 2-2. Going into Game 5. It's going to be a home series stand. So Kansas City is going to win Game 5. Going back to Toronto, I say Toronto will get that one again. It's going to go to Game 7, guys. These two teams, I don't know. They're 2 fantastic teams. And going into Game 7, it's at home for Kansas City. And you know how I've been talking about how it's at home for a team, and because of that, the atmosphere, they're going to win. But I'm going to flip it this time. It's the playoffs. Anything can happen in the playoffs. And we saw that with we saw that with how the Giants beat Kansas City last year. But this is this year, so let's talk this year. And excuse me. And the Royals are going to have that pressure on them. It is Game 7 going into the World Series. They were in the World Series last year, and they've got the pressure to go in again. The fans are, I wouldn't necessarily say excited or happy because they're doing so well, but I'm going to say that they're angry. The Kansas City fans are going to be angry. Right now, they are angry. They're angry at Joe Buck, that's for sure. But the Royals fans, they're going to have that anger in them in Game 7 that the Royals haven't already ended the series yet because they're favorites. And then that anger might channel into the team. The team is going to get pressure. They're going to feel the pressure by their fans to win the game, and they're going to collapse under that pressure. And Toronto is going to win Game 7 in Kansas City in the American League Championship Series, and Toronto will be going against the Chicago Cubs in the 2015 World Series. And you guys already, and not all of you, but some of you guys already know that my prediction, even before the series, even before the playoffs started, I took a look at who was playing. I'm like, all right, it's gonna be Chicago and Toronto. in the World Series. That's my prediction, and I stand by it at all points. No matter who the teams are going against, they're still going to go into the World Series, and that's what's going on right now. Chicago is going to win now in 6 games. I said originally 5 on my blog and on my Twitter, but they are going to win in 6 games now, and Toronto's going to win in 7. That World Series is going to be great, and next week I will talk about the World Series. Maybe. We'll talk more about the championship series and talk about the status of that too. Talk about more about the NFL, see any injury updates, stuff like that. But I did promise I would provide some NFL score updates. I have yet to do that for you guys, and I will do that right now. I will provide some NFL score updates before I sign off, before I have to leave to my event that I have to go to. But right now, if the scores update itself, well, so as we get into these scores, here we go actually. So right now we got the Redskins and the Jets. We got score right now is 7-7 second quarter. Cardinals and Steelers. That shouldn't really be too much of a problem for the Cardinals. The Cardinals are such a great team. Cardinals right now are winning 7-0. Vikings and Chiefs. Vikings up 3-0. Chiefs have the ball. Bills and Bengals. Tied at 7. Bengals have the ball right now. They have possession. Bears and Lions. Bears are up 10-7. Lions right now, at risk of going 0-6. Broncos and Browns. That shouldn't really be a problem for the Broncos at all. Browns have possession. Broncos are up 10-0. Texans and Jaguars. Jaguars are in the red zone. Texans are up 7-0. Dolphins and Titans. Titans have possession. Dolphins are up 10-3. Those are the score updates right now. Thank you for. It's unfortunate I have to end this show early, but thank you for listening to Any Given Sunday with Rob Liano. I am Rob Liano. Be sure to tune in next week at 10 a.m. where I talk more about sports.